So we're going to craft a new little coffee table, and I thought I'd show you the steps. So I've given it a good scrub. It's all dry. A little dune buggy tyre, and we're going to put a flat undercoat on it just to help the glue adhere when we go to wrap the covering around it. Sit. 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 Okay, so part 2 of the Dune Buggy Coffee Table series. As you can see, it's got the undercoat on it that will help the glue adhere. So you'll need, well, if you don't have one, it's okay, you can use a screwdriver. I've got the drill there, some screws. I've got 2 of these, one for the top and one for the bottom. The local craft shop sells them for about $6-7. Got glue gun. Excuse me. We've got the fast grip glue, or some people call it concrete adhesive, because I use that as a longer drying glue in conjunction with the hot glue gun to hold it in place. It just gives it more strength, as well as the screws to hold it in place. I'm going to do something different with this coffee table. I thought for that rattan boho look, we'll use that as a tabletop. And hopefully I'll resin it when I finish to give it a bit more hard wearing finish. The brown paper, and cuts it into strips and then plats it, which gives it that rattan look, that dried grass look, which looks great. So I thought I'll try that. This is an experiment, but my creative inner eye is telling me it's going to look good. So we'll see how we go, and give me some feedback if you like as well. So after I've cleaned the inside, dried it, painted it, I like to sprinkle a bit of lavender, dried lavender and potpourri oils in there just to make it smell pretty. And now we're going to glue one of the wooden bases on. I usually start with the bottom, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I've decided I'm going to put some little legs on this one, so it's easier to pop them on before we place the base on the tyre. So just to help hold them in place while we screw them, and I've measured them roughly as well, so they're all evenly spaced, is we'll just put a little bit of glue to hold them. Keep them in the right spot. Glue gun's still heating up. Varnished a couple. I haven't varnished the other one yet, but it took me a while to find it because we ran out of stock at our local Bunnings. Okay, let's make sure they're roughly in the same position. Yep. Yep. Excellent. So that stage is done. So now we'll flip it and just put a screw in to hold them nice and steady. Just turn that glue gun off. So we know where to put it. Just using a Phillips head. matter if they're a bit rough because you're not going to see it because that's going to be stuck there like so. So I thought we'd just give the base of the bottom of the table on the inside a little bit of a coating just to protect it. A little bit more strength and durability. The undercoat. I think it's really important to also give the edges, just in case anything's spilt and it runs down onto the edge. It could warp the wood. So we'll just give the edging a bit of a coating. Doesn't matter if we make little spills there, we can tidy them up later with a bit of sanding. Because I live in Townsville, Queensland, it's very hot, so this will dry really fast. We might even do the bottom coat as well while we're here. May as well. And we've got it out. I might do the little legs though, because I think that varnish is a terps based varnish and this is a watercolor based paint, and if you put watercolor over the top of terps, watercolor, acrylic, water based, it can bubble. So we'll keep those separate for now. A little bit's alright because we can sand that off in the final finishing detail touches. And this, as you can tell, is a very rough coat, so we'll do another couple of coats at another stage. It's just to get it on there and get started, so we can fix the base to the bottom of the table. And as you could tell, it's a lot easier to put the legs on through this side now rather than later once it's on there, because you won't have access to that underside. Just a bit. Yeah. Okay. That's done. Alrighty. So it's pretty easy to line it up because there's a ridge in the tyre where it aligns perfectly in the circle, so I don't really have to measure it too much. So it's just going to go on like this, right in that circle line. But before I do, as I mentioned earlier, I'm just going to use some of that concrete adhesive. And I've given it a good stir. And this is a messy bit. So make sure you got your old clothes on. And I know it sits just inside this ring, so I thought I'll use the stronger, slower drying glue just inside, and then the quick set hot glue glue just on the outside, just to hold it in place. It is a bit messy, but this is really good stuff, very strong. It's like buttering your toast. A bit smellier. Another little handy tip that will help you with your construction is we've got a Lazy Susan which turns. It just helps having to lug the tyre around. Because we do expect a little bit of movement with the glue, I try and place it a bit higher because I know it's going to run. So I place it a little bit higher than where I actually want it to allow for the slippage. Beautiful. Wasn't too messy today. Excellent. So just use those baby wipes. They're fantastic for cleaning up. Lid back on. The instructions say to just wait a little minute for the cement glue to get sticky. So while that's getting sticky, I'll plug in our glue gun, get her ready. So my drill went flat, so I'm just charging it for a little bit. And I'll tidy up while we're waiting. So we were up to letting the drill charge. Now it should have a bit of charge in it. Let's try this again. Oh! Okay, so as you can see, I've been busy working away, scratching all of the cover on, and still needs a bit of a tidy up. I've tried to do it in little, almost like little flower sections, which I've worked with the pattern of the tyre to sort of push them in around that to adhere to the more shallow part of the tyre. And as I've done that, they've kind of turned into like a little bud shape, flower shape. Okay, so I'll just do a bit of a demo on this last little bit again. Just put some glue in and around and try and ruche it up. Ruche up like a little flower knob, and use some tools to push it in, because as I mentioned, the glue does get very hot, and you can always go back under with little bits. A little bit extra there. And really push it down into that crack. The crack hole there. Maybe needs a little bit more. And if you buy the glue sticks in bulk, they're a bit cheaper as well. Just needs a little bit more under there. I'm still deciding if on the edging, if I will do a smaller braid or maybe put a little bit of rope, because the other ones I've made, as you can see on my Cherieblossomart website, were made with rope. And sticking up a little bit, so we'll put a little bit of glue in there, hold it down. And I like to put a little bit of glue just on the joining previous layer, so it adheres well to that. Again, just push it in the crack. You can go around afterwards and just tidy it up and pull off any little bits of spilt glue. Probably don't need that much glue, but I like to be generous with the glue. Because I'm fortunate that one of the local gift shops here, she takes a consignment for my little tables and has them for sale in her shop, which is at the Nest shop at the Lowe's shopping centre. There's another little bit we can attach. That way I know if there's more glue, the quality will be stronger and last longer. Again, just sort of like ruche it up a little bit and work out where the shallow tread is and push it in. A bit up the top. Again, being very careful of that hot glue. So I think the design with the like raffia paper is coming out well. It's the first time I've done one of these, as I mentioned. I got the idea of using the brown paper off another YouTuber, Reclaimed Heirloom. So I saw one of her clips where she made a boho style palm leaf fan for the wall, and I thought, wow, that looks great. That brown paper looks just like dried out palm leaf. So it gave me the idea behind this concept to use it as a covering for one of my creative, quirky coffee tables. I think it's going to turn out groovy. Pretty groovy. Oh, that was a bit too much glue there. You should just go back in and scrape the excess. Beautiful. Now we're cooking with gas. Okay, so I think I've changed my mind, and instead of doing the rattan top on the little boho coffee table, I've decided to do a wooden top. So we'll go through the same process as we did for the bottom, but before I do, I'm just going to reinforce it. Don't know if you can see it, oopsie, but I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue over the screws in there to hold it on a bit stronger. And with the top, it will fit nicely in the ring. And I will use the same process with the concrete cement just inside and the hot glue gun to hold it in place. And once that's set, I will add a few screws and we'll push them in a bit deeper, sink them a little bit so we can put a little bit of putty fill on top, and then match that to the same colour, and then give it a light sand and give it a varnish. And I think we'll do the bottom, the legs and the bottom plate in the same colour. So for the final part of the top that meets up with the tabletop, I've braided some more brown paper and made it a bit smaller this time. So I was just going to share that doing this last little bit up close, this isn't glued on yet by the way, just using it as a template to where the line goes. It is a little bit trickier than the main body of the table, because to ensure that you're covering all the tire, you really have to ruche it up a lot, like to make sure there's excess of this because it's really ruched up. So a little bit of glue. And on the paper that's attaching to, and then ruche it up. And then you can go back in and just do a couple of little touches of glue. like so. So I'll keep going with this and show you when I'm finished. So I've just put on a little trim of brown paper just around the edge, so when we put the tabletop on, which is actually a wooden chopping board that you can get from your local store for a reasonable price, and it looks good and all hygienic as well. That way, with the little brown strip on the inside edge, you can't see any of the exposed tyre. So with the screws, I got some that are just a little bit longer than the ones we use for the base, because the wooden chopping board top is a bit thicker, so that way you've still got room for it to go through the board and the tyre. So we'll start this next section with giving the concrete adhesive a good stir. And then we're going to butter some of the adhesive on the edge, and again we'll do right on the upper edge some hot glue gun, just so it holds it in place while the longer drying glue dries. Okay, so we've got the stronger, slower drying glue in the middle, or sort of off the edge, and the quick, fast drying glue right on the edge, just to help hold the wood in place. Here we go. Here's a nicer side. Make it this side and line it up. I'm going to push it in really tight against the paper, because when I put it in I made sure it was really flush. So just check. Okay. Now I'm just going to put something really heavy on top to help hold it while it dries. Okay, so we've got the glue all set in place, and I've countersunk, measured up where the screws go. I'm just going to put 3, and I've countersunk them just by a couple of mil to put some fill on top, match the colour, and just got one more to do, and then we'll move on to the next stage. All done. So now we're just going to give it a light sand, and I'll sand the bottom as well. Just a fine grit paper, not too rough. And that way it will help the new varnish to adhere. But we'll just show you before I do that. Bottom side, which will give a light sand. I haven't had a chance to resink those screws yet, so I'll do that as well. Screw them in a bit more. And I'll put a little strip of paper around where you can still see the tyre, like we did on the top. Okay, so I'm just going to mix like a nice brown. I used a bit of ochre and dark brown acrylic just to put on the base. I've sanded back all the lacquer that was on the leg knobs. It's got the primer. I forgot to mention as well, I sealed the inside of it on top of the primer with some sealant, layer of sealant. So we'll get this started, and then I'll show you what it comes out like in the next stage. Okay, so I've sanded it back and given it another coat, and I've also added a little trim of paper liner around the edge so you can't see the tyre underneath. And then going around still picking off any of the glue, and if there's any little loose bits that you want to refasten, you can tidy that up as well. Again, just be careful because that glue is very hot. And I'll flip it over and show you the top, which we're yet to varnish. I got a clear tap space varnish. So after I sanded all this back, I used acrylic. I mixed a couple of browns to make a nice earthy brown. I even put a little bit of gold in it to give it a bit of a shimmer. So once that's fully dry, you can put terp space varnish over the top of acrylic. You just can't go the other way. Okay, so I flipped it to show you the top there, which has been sanded, and I used the grit, the sand powder that came off it, to glue and put into the screw heads so they camouflage in a little bit there. So now I'm going to give it a varnish, and I got a satin varnish instead of a gloss because I thought, because it's that earthy natural look, I thought a satin would be better suited than a high gloss. And I've decided I might do a thin coat around the paper as well, just to give it a little bit of protection. See how we go. I'll show you when that's done. Okay, just showing you the varnish I'm going to use. The instructions recommend that for the first coat, especially on wood, you dilute it a little bit with pure gum terps. So I'm going to do that in there. And then when I sand that back and give a second coat, I'll give it just the pure varnish as well with no diluted terps. I got myself a good varnish brush, so they're nice and soft. And as I mentioned earlier with the undercoats of paint that I did on the bottom of the little table, I feel that when you're using the brush, if you go in a cross-hatch direction, the first layer in one direction and then the second layer or continuous layers in the opposite direction, that cross-hatching, it just gives it a smoother finish. Okay, wish me luck. Okay, just showing you another stage where I've sanded it back, put a coat of varnish and sanded it back, and I kept the diluted varnish for the outside as well. So I thought it was a bit too sticky and thick, so I need a thinner coat, and it's quite nice. So I'll flip it over and show you the bottom, and then we're just going to varnish the bottom, and we might put another varnish because I've sanded that back slightly on top after that. Okay, so here's the underbelly. I've given it a light sand after we painted it yesterday, and I'm just going to give it a shellac. Oh, not a shellac. I was going to use shellac, but I don't like the idea of killing little bugs. So I've diluted it again, so 1 part terps, 2 part varnish. I'm just going to give a light coat to the underneath, and these little bits here that I missed yesterday because it was upside down. Make sure that your room is well ventilated. I'm lucky with my little art space here, it's near the front door, so with the front door open, the windows open, and once I'm finished I'll put the fans on. So I gave it a light vacuum as well, just to make sure there's no dust from the sanding, and we'll give it a little coat. I would suggest as well, as you can see when I go to put some varnish on there, I sort of dapple it on, and sometimes when you're dappling it on, the splashes can splash back, and I think it'd be pretty dangerous if you got it in your eyeball. So some of those safety glasses would work well with this part, the coating part. Just make sure I get into all the little cracks and crevices, and because yesterday I did it that way up, today I can do it this way up and get any little bits that I missed as well. Just do that outside edge, and then I'll give the underbelly a quick coat as well, and the top needs another coat. And then another benefit of having it on the Lazy Susan is it's easy to lift outside because we put it outside to dry yesterday. Okay, so I've varnished underneath and I've varnished on top. So I just put it outside to dry and just gave another little extra coat around the edge there. That's nearly finished. Okay, so here's my finished product. It's looking pretty good and my creative eye was correct. It looks good. Finished with the paper and the wood top. It's got a real natural look. And I like the fact that I'm actually recycling as well, recycling rubber tyres that would otherwise just be sitting at the dump. So I'm combining creativity and recycling in one, thoroughly enjoying the process. So thank you for watching my clip, and if you like it or have any suggestions, please comment. Otherwise you can subscribe and ask me what other creative clips you'd like to see. So bye for now.